Come for the bread, stay for the politics. My name is Ben Walsh, and this is Let Them Eat Bread. Today, we have a very special and admittedly very short episode of Let Them Eat Bread, since today we are going to be making the traditional Passover bread of matzah. Matzah is an interesting bread because it's not leavened, and I'll talk more about it, but the first thing we need to do is we need to start our oven. This whole process can't take more than 18 minutes. I'll explain why in a second, but first, let's set our ovens. I'm going to set my oven to about 500 degrees. If your oven keeps a more regular temperature, you might want to keep it around 475. All right, now that your oven is set, the next thing you need to do while it's warming is twofold. One, you need to take a rack and put it in the very top row of your oven if you can. Second, you need to make sure that any tray or trays that you're going to use need to be preheating with the oven. I'm going to be using 2 trays that I've already made up with oil on them. You can see here. I'm going to be putting them in the top of my oven. So, while that's preheating, let's talk a little bit about ingredients. Today, we're only going to need a little bit of flour, a little bit of water. If you want, optionally afterwards, we're going to paint on some olive oil with some garlic and some salt. But no need, you can eat matzah totally plain. Although I wouldn't recommend it, it's not very good. But it is required for Passover, so we are going to make it. So the reason that it has to be done from start to finish in 18 minutes is because apparently those are the rules about making it kosher Passover. So for any Jews who are watching, if you want to make your own kosher Passover matzah, you need to make sure that start to finish, as in from the second the water hits the flour to the second it comes out of the oven, it is going to take it's got to take 18 minutes or less. That's one of the reasons that we're setting our oven so high, so it'll cook quickly. It is going to cook in about 4 minutes. You might need a little bit more time, but just remember that 18-minute time point. One additional thing, if you want to be extra careful, the flour you buy should be a special Passover flour, what makes it special for Passover is that it's been kept away from all liquids. I'm using regular grocery store flour. I'm not going to be using kind of a special Passover flour. So we're going to stick to the 18-minute rule to try and make it as kosher as possible. It will effectively be kosher Passover matzah. But let's start assembling some things. And then I have a timer so we can do this together. I'm a little bit panicky. I tried this last night. It came out okay. So hopefully it comes out well today when we do it together. All right. So we're going to start with 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Level that off as much as possible. We're going to put this in our bowl. And then we're going to take about a tablespoon of flour, or a little less, and just lightly, very, very lightly dust our work surface. I put too much flour on when I was making it last night as a test before doing it live with you guys. And the matzah was really floury and powdery on the bottom of it, and it wasn't particularly nice. The olive oil painting helps with that, but it's just going to be nicer without it. So we're going to be a little more careful today about how much flour we have down. I am going to keep some extra flour on the board, though, because as we roll it out, or as you press it out with your hands, if you don't have a rolling pin, you see I have my rolling pin here. We're going to need that in a second. But if you don't have one, feel free to use your hands, your knuckles, just to kind of push it out and spread it out. Okay. So hopefully the little amount of flour we put on here will keep it will keep it from sticking to both the rolling pin and the board, but also not too much flour that we kind of have this weird floury texture underneath, which isn't particularly nice. So, all right, our oven is still not preheated. I have a particularly slow oven, so I am just going to mention one more little thing about today's episode. It's going to be a little different. The episode is not just going to be 18 minutes. Obviously, we're waiting for our ovens to preheat, and you want to take out all of your ingredients in advance. Anything you're going to use, you want to take out now, because once the clock starts ticking, 18 minutes is a surprisingly short amount of time. It's definitely going to be difficult to keep up if you are not, if you don't have everything in front of you, if you're getting stuff out. The other thing is, we're going to knead this. We're going to knead for a very short amount of time. You should try not to knead this for more than a minute. Yesterday, I kneaded it for about 5 minutes, and it made the texture of the matzah a little chewier, even though it was really flat. So we're going to try not knead as much today. Also, have some extra water around. I have about 1/3 of a cup to 1/2 a cup water in here now. If you want to put a little bit more water in, you're just going to have to test it. When we're mixing it, we're going to use a fork to mix it, so make sure you get one of those out. You're just going to keep mixing it in the bowl until it forms this kind of rough, shaggy ball of dough that you'll pour out onto your board and mix together. Again, this is just to make sure that you have the right ratios. And if it's a little moist, that's okay. Just add a little bit more flour. Just remember, we're working quickly. So everything we do is going to be purposeful. Everything we do is as much as we can be, is going to be quick and precise. And then after we make our matzah and we're letting it cool a little bit, speaking of cooling, I have 2 oven cooling racks out. Get your racks out now. It's very difficult to get them out while you're trying to yank a tray out of the oven. Oh, one more thing on that. You will need to flip these about halfway through the cooking process. So make sure that you have a tongs of some kind, because you're not going to want to touch these. You're going to be really, really hot when you go to touch them. So after we bake everything, these are cooling, and I'm putting a little bit of olive oil on. We'll talk a little bit of politics today, but this is going to be a short episode. We have a monster episode coming up next week. We're going to be making brioche, which is going to require 2 parts of the episode. We're going to have a Friday episode and a Saturday episode. The Friday episode is going to be around 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The Saturday episode is, as usual, going to be at noon Eastern Time. Oh, one last thing. Our ovens are going to get really hot today. If you have a finicky fire alarm, find a way to move any potential smoke away from it. Obviously, you don't want your fire alarm going off. And if I have to run off camera for some reason, it's because my fire alarm is going off. And I'm just going to have to reset it for you guys. So be patient with me and be patient with yourselves. But remember, we will be on a time crunch. So with that said, let's crack open the timer. All right, 18 minutes are on the clock. This is still not going yet, but it definitely will be by the time we get going. All right, no pressure or anything. Let's do this. So we have our flour, we have our fork, we have our water. I'm just going to put this on here and keep my fork in my left hand, my fork in my right hand, so I can keep mixing as I pour in some water. You want to pour in your water about a tablespoon at a time. All right, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. All right, so we're pouring in a little bit of water at a time. Keep going. Oh, if you spill some flour, it's okay. If it gets stuck to your fork, just use your fingers real quick to get it off. It's not going to be the end of the world. Just keep stirring, try and get this all mixed together. All right, a little bit more water. Again, you want to keep doing this so you have a nice shaggy dough. It should come together into a very, very rough dough ball. If you need to use the fork to kind of move it around to get the flour to stick, that's fine too. We still have a little bit more water left, so let's keep pouring that in little by little. And try to make sure that when you're doing this, you're getting the water to get in contact with the dried flour as opposed to the dough that you already have. All right, 17 minutes left. And we're getting close. You can see here that my flour is starting to come together a little bit. All right, more water. All right, come on, flour mixture. All right, you will have some flour left over, right? Because when you knead, you're gonna use the kneading process to bring that all together. But as much as possible, try not to have that much flour in there. It will make the whole process easier. All right, 16.5 minutes. Put a little bit more water in here. If you already have a dough that has pretty much come together into one solid shaggy mass, and you are not having trouble with excess flour in your bowl, transfer it out immediately. Get to kneading, right? If you can do this faster than me, you absolutely should. So, by the way, if you are ahead of me, once you get your kneading done, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your rolling pin or your fingers, you're going to roll this out pretty evenly into a giant rectangle, about 1/4 inch thick, very thin, or even thinner than that if you want to. It's a matter of preference. It will cook faster the thinner it is. All right, so I have a shaggy dough. I've been kind of kneading it in the bowl a little bit, so let's pull this out just a little bit. And there'll be some dough that sticks to your bowl. That's okay. All right. Oh, my hands are shaking. All right, we're in kneading town. We are kneading a little bit here, nice and quick. All right, this is still a little wet, so I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that I have some flour on my board here. And you're just kneading it till it's smooth. Just so it's one smooth ball, it's no longer shaggy, because that's how much flour you're gonna need. Sorry, that is the consistency you're gonna need to roll it out the way that we're gonna want to. Okay. All right, and we're going. I am trying to leave about 6 minutes on my timer for cooking, so that I have a second just in case it doesn't cook as fast as I think it will. And our oven is still preheating. Come on, oven, I need you to be there for us when we do this. Okay. All right, I think we're there. We're close. We're pretty close. All right, let's just get a couple more kneads in. And again, I'm just pushing my palm down and folding over the top, holding the rest of the dough in place and rotating 90 degrees each time. You can see I'm gathering a little bit of the flour from the rest of my board here. Try and smooth this out without making it too powdery. Okay. All right, this is pretty smooth. All right, so form this into kind of a ball or a pancake. What you're going to do is you're going to use your rolling pin to do an upwards and a sideways, and you're going to roll out in all directions. And then you're going to keep doing that. Take some flour, sprinkle it on top. If you can, just kind of roll it in the flour real quick. We cannot have this sticking to our rolling pin. So over here. All right, how are we doing on time? 13 minutes. Don't be afraid to be aggressive with this. We want a nice big rectangle. Throw some more flour on it if you need. That's why we have our flour next to us. I'm gonna need some more flour as well. Oop. Yeah, don't go back and forth. I find back and forth is hard. Just do an up and a down, or a different direction, if that's what works for you. All right, 12 minutes. We still got time. We're doing all right. I'll put this over here, make my life a little easier. Try and stick to that rectangle shape if you can. It will make some of this a lot easier. If not, that's okay. Take a little bit more flour, put it on here, put some more on our board, flip this over. Clearly it needs some more floury love here. All right, keep going. Make it as big of a matzah as you possibly can. Flip frequently. Make sure it's not sticking. Literally the last thing we need is for this to stick. We'll make it very difficult for everything we're trying to do with it. And again, nice big rectangle. Use 2 hands on your rolling pin like I'm doing if it's giving you some trouble, some grief. Again, we want it about 1/4 of an inch. I'm almost there. Our oven is not almost there, though. Oh, Nelly. Keep going, keep rolling, guys. We are close to the finish line, or as Moses would say, the promised land. The promised land of matzah. All right, mine has obviously become not the right shape, but that's okay, because we're going to cut it up. All right. So it's about the shape I want it. It's about the size I want it. Let's just make sure that it's not going to stick. Throw some more flour on there. 10 minutes, guys. We are almost ahead of schedule, dare I say. All right. All right, so we have our matzah in more or less a rectangular shape. Not really. That's all right. Kind of an oval. It's all right. It's all good. Matzah's not perfect. You know what? Neither of any of us, right? Moses wasn't perfect. It's all good. All right, so now that we have our matzah in the right shape, we're going to take our bench scraper or a knife, and we're going to cut it into squares. I'm going to cut mine into 6 squares. This technically allows you to cut it into 8 squares, but I think 6 squares is going to be nicer. So 6 rectangles. If it's really nice and big, you can cut it into like 9. All right. It's a little hard to see what I'm doing. Essentially, I'm just taking this and creating them into these little squares. All right. So now, ooh, it's getting a little hot in here. All right, so now what we have to do before we put these in our oven, we need to take our fork and we need to pierce through each one at least 25 times. This prevents rising and also gives matzah that nice hold pattern. So just keep stabbing through. Your fork has to go all the way through. So we're going to flip over as soon as we finish one side. We're going to do the second side again. All right. Hold your matzah down so it doesn't go anywhere. Pardon the loud noises. All right, flip it over one more time. Well, a bunch more times, but keep going. Don't stop, we're on a timer. All right, 8 minutes, we can do this. I want it in the oven, 5 or 6 minutes left. All right, flip it over. All right, 3 more, guys. Keep going. This is the most stressful episode of Let Them Eat Bread ever, by the way, just in case anyone was wondering or keeping track. Probably will also be the most ever one ever until next year when I make matzah again. Or maybe I'll never make it again. Who knows? We'll see. Oh, the oven is ready for us. All right. That's good. I was getting a little nervous. Maybe you guys are smarter than me, and you guys actually waited for your oven to be ready to start doing this whole process. If you were, kudos to you. All right, one last side. Okay, our matzah should be full of holes. You can see it here, right? The matzah is full of holes. All right, so now we have 6 minutes left. We're going to take our hot hands here. We're going to take our trays out and put these on. All right, let's go. Pardon the loud noises. We're working fast here. Not being quiet or courteous or anything. I'm going to do 3 on a tray. And as I said, that might happen. That's all right. We baked in time for that. No puns intended. Was a good pun, though. All right, these need to go in our oven. Set a timer for 2 minutes, and then we're going to pull them out and flip them over. All right, a little bit of a break. How are we doing on time? 5 minutes, 48 seconds. All right, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. Deep breaths, guys. We got it in the oven with enough time to cook it. We might have even gotten it in the oven with enough time to let it brown a little bit. That would be really nice. So that would be great if we can do, if we managed that. So now we wait, just let it cook. I'm gonna get a drink of water. It's stressful. You guys should get a drink of something. I'm having water on camera, but you can have whatever you want. Saturday morning, mimosas are a thing, right? Not Sunday mornings. Sunday mornings. I forget I said anything. All right, let's put some things away. Calm down a little bit. Oh, we only got a minute left. Okay, maybe not. So when you're looking to see if these are done, you want to make sure there's a little bit of browning on each side. That's why they're cooking so fast and at such a high temperature. So you don't want them to bubble up and become like pita. That's why I poked the holes in them so they didn't expand. We're just going to make sure when we flip them over that they're not like that. If they are like that for whatever reason, just use your tongs and press down those bubbles a little bit. We really don't want those bubbles to form if we can avoid it. All right, 20 seconds now. We're going to take them out and flip them over. Hopefully they're floured enough that they won't stick. If they stick, we're going to be in a world of trouble, but I'm hoping they don't. So, and we used a lot of flour in this recipe, so I think they won't stick. All right, let's flip them. Let's go. All right, another 2-minute timer. So mine are actually looking a little raw, so they actually might need a little bit more time. I might let the clock run out on them a little bit. We'll have to see how they're doing after about 2 minutes. If yours are nice and white and have little bits of brown on them, take them out, they're done. Don't let them burn. Matzah isn't particularly pleasant on its own, but it definitely is not going to be nice if you, it's certainly not going to be nice if you let it burn. So, again, just kind of waiting for that timer to go. You can use this time to clean up a little bit, get a drink of water, put some stuff away if you want. We are now done with the main process. So the next part is going to be letting them cool. And that's what your baking racks are for. If you have the time and you haven't taken out your cooling racks yet, take them out now. Prepare, you're just going to quickly take the matzah and put them on. And we're going to check ours in about 45 seconds. Hopefully they will be ready. If they're not ready and you still have time, just flip them over, put them back in. You know, this is, it's not an exact science because, we're doing them different shapes, we're doing them different sizes. So it's never going to be exactly the same every time. So a lot of this is by ear. We're cooking at very high temperature, so you really need to keep an eye on it. So as soon as it says it's ready, we got about 10 seconds. We're just going to check them. And if they're not ready, we're going to put them back in. And if I have to, I will run this timer to 0. Well, not to 0, to like 1 or 2 seconds, because we definitely need them out by 18 minutes exactly. All right, let's check. these are almost done. Almost done. They probably need another minute, and luckily we have another minute to give them. So that is what we're going to do. They are starting to brown a little bit. All right. Turn off our timer. We have 1 minute and 5 seconds. We are going to let it run as close as possible, and then we're going to take it out. I'm going to check it I'm going to check it when it says 20 seconds on our timer here. I keep looking at the side of my laptops here, helping me keep time today. All right. So when this says 20 seconds, we're going to run over and we're going to take a look at them. If they need any more than that, I'll give them what I can give them, but we're running on close time. This is much better time than I did yesterday, so definitely getting better at this. And hopefully, if you were to do this a second time, you'll do it too. So, all right, 3 seconds, 2, 1, let's check them. All right, 10. All right, I gotta take them out, guys. How did Oh, look at that timing, out of the oven with exactly, all right, exactly the right amount of time to spare. All right, so let's take a look at our work here. Let's take one. You can see that it has some browning on it. It's nice and firm. It's still a little wobbly because it's cooling, so we're gonna put them right on our racks. Turn off your oven. Unless for some reason you decide that you need to make more than one batch of this. Let's turn that off. All right. So those are going to cool a little bit. Here, I'll bring them over so you can see. We have 6 pieces of matzah, 3 on this board. And 3 on this one. You can really see some of the brown came through on these, which is good. And actually, they don't have, if you pick one up, they don't have a ton of that extra flour on them, so they're not going to be kind of powdery to eat. They are a little thicker than I wanted them to be, so I think next time the plan would be to flour the board more and roll them out a little thinner. These are thicker than the ones I made last night. And they feel a little more like pita than matzah does. But that's all right. So we're going to let them cool for a second. And then as soon as we do, we're going to take some of our olive oil. We're going to put it into a little container. If you have a paintbrush, use that. If you have a fork, use that. If you have a spoon, use that. Knife, use that. Hands, use that. Or you can just dip your fingers in it. It's the least hygienic way to do it. But if you don't have any tools, that's how you do it. God gave us tools, right? That's the thought anyway. You were given tools from our birth. All right. So let's paint these guys a little bit. We're going to have to hold them because they're going to want to run away from us. You just want a little bit of olive oil in each one. So be careful with how much you put on. And then that can sit for a second. We're going to olive oil all of them, and then we'll sprinkle our salt and garlic on. If you have other tasty additions to your matzah, you have another herb or spice or seasoning you want to put on your matzah, then don't use salt and don't use garlic. Use whatever you want. This is the fun part. Now that we've done all the hard work, we're going to take some time to try and make these little pieces of flatbread, little pieces of matzah, a little bit more enjoyable. They should be kosher Passover. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I wasn't using special Passover flour, but if that is not a bother for you, like it isn't for me particularly, then they're kosher. They'll do the job. Now these are little baby ones, right? It'd be difficult to do much with them. The ratio for flour to water is about 3 to 1. So 3 parts flour, 1 part water, plus a little bit more. So if you want to play with those ratios, you want to make a lot more matzah, you find that this is actually enjoyable, and you want to continue to do it this way, then absolutely do it. Sprinkle a little bit of salt on here. I'm using kosher salt, but table salt will be good as well. And it'll be a little harder for you to put too much salt on, which I am probably doing. That's all right. All right. If you want, you're a little nervous about the amount of salt I just put on, that's okay. Just shake off the excess salt. It's still warm. It'll hold some of that salt, but some of that salt will come right off. So if you put too much on, like I did, just tap it. It'll come right off. Now we're going to add our garlic powder. I believe that there is never too much garlic, but of course be as judicious with your garlic powder as you want, or your spice or whatever you're putting on here. All right, so these are finished. So we're gonna let them cool all the way, and we'll try them. We'll see. Well, I'm gonna try them. I'm not gonna try mine now, but you should try yours. See how you like them. As wonderful as it can be. I hope you enjoyed making matzah. If you do enjoy making matzah, make it again. The recipe is very simple. I'll put it up underneath the video description so that you have a copy of it to refer to at any time, and you want to bake it with me again. Obviously, it takes a very short amount of time. We will be back next week with our super mega brioche bread episode. Maybe I'll think of something fun to call it, and we'll go from there. All right, everybody, take care, and happy Passover.